Have you ever found yourself questioning whether someone who seems distant, reserved, or even emotionally unavailable actually cares about you, especially someone who might have avoidant tendencies in relationships, those who seem to pull away when things get too close? Here's the truth. Even avoidants are capable of love, and often their actions, subtle though they may be, speak louder than words. First, let's be honest, avoidants are wired differently. Emotional intimacy can feel overwhelming, suffocating, or even scary to them. So when they do open up, even in small ways, it's a signal that they trust you enough to risk their comfort zone. Love for them isn't always loud or dramatic. It's quiet, consistent, and measured. One of the clearest signs an avoidant loves you is effort in presence. They may not text endlessly or shower you with constant affection, but they make time for you. They show up, even when it's inconvenient, even when they'd rather be alone. That effort is their language of love. It's how they express commitment when words fail them. Another unmistakable sign is protectiveness of your emotions. Avoidants often avoid conflict, not because they don't care, but because they don't want to hurt you or cause emotional chaos. When they go out of their way to keep you safe emotionally, it's their form of intimacy. They care enough to avoid unnecessary pain. Also, notice when they share glimpses of their inner world. Avoidants guard their emotions carefully, so every detail they reveal, whether it's a past vulnerability, a fear, or a dream, is a piece of their heart being placed in your hands. That's love in its most courageous form, risk and trust wrapped into one. Finally, they show subtle consistency. Avoidants may struggle with grand romantic gestures, but when they are reliably present, check in, or respond when it truly matters, it signals deep care. Love for them is often steady rather than flashy. It's quiet devotion rather than showy declarations. The takeaway here is simple. Love doesn't always look the way you expect. It can be quiet, patient, and even distant at times. But when an avoidant does these things, makes time, protects your feelings, shares themselves, and stays consistent, it's not just interest or attachment, it's love. And when you learn to see it in their language, you can feel secure knowing it's genuine, even if it's not always conventional. When we think about love, we often picture grand gestures, long messages, lavish gifts, or constant communication. But for someone with avoidant tendencies, love rarely looks like that. Their affection is quieter, more measured, and often expressed through their actions rather than words. One of the clearest ways an avoidant demonstrates love is through effort in presence. It may not be flashy or dramatic, but it is consistent and intentional, and that effort is their version of showing they care. Presence doesn't always mean physically being there every moment or sending texts constantly. For an avoidant, it often means showing up when it matters, prioritizing time together despite their natural inclination to pull back, and creating space for connection in ways that feel manageable for them. What makes this particularly significant is that avoidants tend to guard their independence fiercely. Emotional closeness can feel overwhelming, and their instinct is often to retreat when things get intense. So when they make the choice to show up, it's not just about spending time, it's a conscious decision to invest in the relationship. Even if it pushes them slightly out of their comfort zone, that effort signals that you are important to them in a way that words alone might not capture. It's their way of saying, you matter enough for me to be here, even if it's not easy. This presence can manifest in different ways. It could be as simple as making time for a shared activity, showing up to events that matter to you, or carving out moments to connect emotionally. Even small gestures, like remembering a detail you mentioned in passing, checking in when they know you need support, or adjusting their schedule to spend time with you, carry weight. To an avoidant, these are not just casual actions, they are deliberate choices that reflect care. They understand that love isn't always about saying I love you repeatedly or expressing emotions openly. Sometimes it's about showing up when it counts and being dependable, even if it doesn't look like what others expect. Understanding this also requires patience and awareness. Avoidants may not express affection in ways that feel conventional or immediately obvious. Their presence might be quiet, sporadic, or understated, but it is meaningful. Recognizing these efforts means tuning into their unique way of communicating love. It's about seeing beyond the surface and appreciating the thought, energy, and intentionality behind their actions. Every time an avoidant makes space for you in their life, prioritizes time together, or chooses to be present despite their natural tendency to withdraw, it's a reflection of genuine care. In relationships with avoidance, presence becomes a language of love. While it may not always feel dramatic or romantic in the traditional sense, it carries a depth and authenticity that is profoundly significant. It shows that they value you enough to invest themselves, even if it challenges their comfort zone. Observing these actions, recognizing their intentionality, and appreciating their effort is key to understanding their love, because for an avoidant, showing up consistently is one of the most sincere ways they can express commitment and affection. When it comes to love, avoidants often have a reputation for being distant or emotionally unavailable, but that distance doesn't mean they don't care. In fact, one of the most telling signs that an avoidant truly loves you is their protectiveness of your emotions. They may not always express their feelings openly or in grand romantic gestures, but they have a natural instinct to shield you from unnecessary pain or conflict. This isn't about control or manipulation. It's about genuine care. They understand that emotional turmoil can be exhausting and overwhelming, and they make a conscious effort to prevent causing you distress whenever possible. Avoidants often struggle with direct confrontation or emotionally charged situations, not because they lack concern, but because they are deeply aware of how easily emotions can spiral out of control. When they navigate these situations thoughtfully, choosing their words carefully, or sometimes retreating temporarily to avoid an argument, it's a demonstration of love. They are trying to protect the bond they share with you by preventing unnecessary friction. While it might be frustrating at times because it can feel like distance or avoidance, it's actually a protective mechanism that shows they care enough to preserve your emotional well-being. This protectiveness also appears in subtle ways. They may notice your mood shifts, small signs of stress, or moments when you're feeling vulnerable, and they adjust their behavior to provide comfort or reduce tension. For example, they might step in quietly when you are upset, offer practical support instead of excessive emotional talk, or avoid saying things that could hurt unnecessarily. Their love often shows up in these small, considerate actions rather than in grand declarations. Each choice to minimize emotional strain, each moment they moderate their reactions, reflects a deep-seated concern for your happiness and peace of mind. Understanding this requires seeing love from their perspective. Avoidants often struggle with overwhelming emotions themselves, so they may not express love through verbal reassurance or overt displays of affection. Instead, they show care by creating a safe emotional space for you. Their love is protective rather than possessive, considerate rather than dramatic, and steady rather than flashy. This approach may feel different from the typical expectations of romance, but it is no less genuine. When an avoidant carefully navigates sensitive moments, tempers their impulses, or chooses patience over confrontation, it's a clear indication that they value you deeply and want to preserve your emotional security. Recognizing this protectiveness is key to understanding their love language. It requires patience, awareness, and appreciation for the quieter, subtler ways they demonstrate care. While they may not say, "I love you" repeatedly, or react with visible emotional intensity, their efforts to protect your heart, avoid unnecessary conflict, and maintain stability in your shared space are powerful expressions of devotion. When an avoidant shows this kind of careful attentiveness, it's a sign that they are invested, committed, and genuinely care about your emotional well-being. Their love may be understated, but it is authentic, intentional, and enduring, rooted in a desire to create a secure environment where both of you can thrive. One of the most profound ways an avoidant shows love is by sharing their inner vulnerabilities with you. Avoidants are often highly protective of their emotions, not because they don't feel deeply, but because intimacy can feel intense, unpredictable, and sometimes even frightening. They've learned to guard themselves, to keep a layer of distance as a form of self-preservation. So when they allow you a glimpse into their inner world, their fears, past experiences, or dreams, it is an extraordinary act of trust. Each time they reveal something personal, it's not casual or accidental. It's a deliberate choice to let someone close, and that choice speaks volumes about their feelings for you. Sharing vulnerabilities is rarely easy for an avoidant. It requires them to confront their own discomfort and risk emotional exposure. They know that being open could make them feel raw, unprotected, or even judged. But when they take that step with you, it demonstrates that they trust you not just to hear their truth, but to honor it, respect it, and hold it safely. In essence, their love is expressed in this bravery, the willingness to let you see the parts of themselves that are normally hidden from the world. This act of disclosure is a way of saying, without words, I trust you enough to be seen. These moments of vulnerability can take many forms. It might be sharing a story from their past that shaped who they are, opening up about a fear they rarely admit, or expressing an aspiration that feels fragile or uncertain. Even small confessions, like admitting they care deeply but struggle to articulate it, are significant. Every time an avoidant lets their guard down, they are actively bridging the gap between their internal world and yours, allowing intimacy to grow despite their natural tendency to withdraw. Recognizing these efforts requires attention and appreciation because they may not be accompanied by overt emotional displays or verbal affirmations that others might expect. Understanding the significance of these gestures also means shifting perspective. Avoidants do not always express love in conventional ways. They may avoid prolonged emotional discussions, shy away from public displays of affection, or keep conversations surface level for long periods. But when they intentionally share a part of themselves that is deeply personal, it is one of the clearest indicators of love. It demonstrates a willingness to be vulnerable and a desire to build a connection that goes beyond casual interactions. This willingness to share vulnerabilities reflects a deeper commitment to intimacy. For an avoidant, love isn't just about attraction or companionship. It's about trusting someone with the parts of themselves they normally keep protected. Each disclosure, no matter how small, is a gesture of courage, honesty, and devotion. By recognizing and valuing these moments, you are seeing their love expressed in its truest form. It is a love that doesn't always shout, but one that quietly entrusts their heart to you, creating a bond built on trust, authenticity, and mutual respect. One of the most telling signs that an avoidant truly loves you is subtle consistency. Avoidants may not always be demonstrative in the traditional sense. They might struggle with grand gestures, long conversations, or frequent emotional declarations. But what they lack in overt displays, they make up for in quiet, reliable patterns of behavior. Subtle consistency is their language of love, and it's often far more meaningful than anything loud or dramatic. It shows that despite their natural tendency to withdraw, they are committed to maintaining the connection and showing up in ways that matter. Subtle consistency can take many forms. It might be the way they respond when it truly matters, the way they check in when you need support, or the way they prioritize spending time with you even amidst their busy schedules or personal struggles. It may seem small or understated, but these consistent actions demonstrate intention and care. Avoidants understand that love isn't always about high-energy expressions. It's about showing up over time, proving reliability, and building trust through repeated, dependable actions. Each small moment of consistency is like a quiet reassurance that they are invested in the relationship and in your well-being. What makes this especially significant is the effort it requires. Avoidants often value independence and personal space, and intimacy can feel like a challenge. Choosing to act consistently, to be present in predictable ways, is a conscious decision that runs counter to their natural instincts. Every time they follow through on promises, maintain communication during difficult moments, or simply make time for you, they are quietly demonstrating that you matter. Consistency for an avoidant is not about obligation. It's about care expressed through thoughtful, dependable action, and it reflects a deeper level of commitment than words alone could convey. Subtle consistency also builds security. Relationships with avoidants can sometimes feel unpredictable because they tend to pull away when they feel overwhelmed. Yet when you notice patterns of reliability, small, repeated behaviors that show up even when it isn't convenient, you gain a clearer sense of their affection and dedication. This consistency reassures you that, Even if they retreat occasionally, they are coming back, they are maintaining connection, and they are intentionally nurturing the relationship. It's an understated but powerful form of love that grows stronger over time. Recognizing this requires mindfulness and attention. Because avoidants may not broadcast their feelings, it's easy to overlook their consistent gestures or dismiss them as routine. But in reality, these small, steady actions are deeply meaningful. They reflect patience, thoughtfulness, and a commitment to maintaining intimacy on their own terms. The love of an avoidant often reveals itself not in moments of spectacle, but in the quiet rhythms of dependability, in the repeated choices to show up, to care, and to remain present. By valuing and appreciating these patterns, you are acknowledging the depth of their feelings and understanding that love doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers steadily, quietly, and unwaveringly. Understanding love from someone with avoidant tendencies requires a shift in perspective. Avoidants often struggle to express emotions in the ways society traditionally expects: constant texting, dramatic declarations, or overt romantic gestures. Instead, they communicate through subtler actions, through patterns of behavior that may seem understated but are deeply meaningful. Recognizing and appreciating love in their language is essential to truly understanding their feelings. Their love is expressed in ways that are natural and comfortable for them, which may differ from what you're used to, but that does not make it any less genuine. Love in an avoidance language often appears in actions rather than words. They may not say "I love you" frequently, but they demonstrate care by showing up, maintaining reliability, and creating space for connection that respects both their needs and yours. For example, they may prioritize time with you in quiet ways, remember important details about your life, or adjust their schedules to accommodate your needs. Each of these actions, while subtle, is an intentional effort to show affection and commitment. Understanding these gestures as expressions of love allows you to see their devotion even when it is not overtly stated. Another key aspect of their love language is patience. Avoidants often need more time to open up or process emotions, and they may withdraw when feeling overwhelmed. However, when they consistently return, engage thoughtfully, and make room for the relationship to grow, they are demonstrating care in a way that aligns with their temperament. This form of love is steady and enduring, built on trust and respect rather than impulsive displays. Recognizing this helps you appreciate that their approach is not a lack of interest or affection, but rather a different way of showing it, a language that values quality, stability, and intentionality over quantity or spectacle. Avoidants also express love through respect for boundaries and emotional space. They understand the importance of independence and may naturally give both themselves and their partner room to breathe. This can be confusing at first, but it is actually a profound form of care. By honoring personal space while maintaining connection, they communicate that they value you enough to engage thoughtfully and responsibly, rather than overwhelming the relationship with intense emotional expression. Their love is conscious and deliberate, often quiet but deeply sincere. To truly feel their love, you need to tune into these patterns, to recognize the gestures that may be easy to overlook. Love in their language is about presence, reliability, patience, and respect. It is expressed in subtle, consistent actions rather than loud proclamations, and it often requires attentiveness to perceive fully. Once you understand this, you can experience their devotion as authentic and meaningful, appreciating the depth and intentionality behind their behavior. Their love may not conform to conventional expectations, but it is no less real or significant. By seeing love through their lens, you create space for connection that honors both their nature and your needs, building a relationship grounded in understanding, trust, and genuine care. In conclusion, love from someone with avoidant tendencies may not always be loud, dramatic, or easy to recognize. But when you learn to see it in their language, through their presence, protectiveness, willingness to share vulnerabilities, subtle consistency, and thoughtful gestures, you witness a deep, genuine, and intentional kind of devotion. Appreciating these quiet expressions allows you to feel secure, understood, and valued in a way that transcends conventional displays of affection. Thank you all for taking the time to listen, reflect, and open your hearts to understanding love in its many forms.